Tonight, the grim reality of sleeping rough on Scotland streets. Those experiencing homelessness say they face violence and abuse every single day.
It's just me against the world. I see it as I'm not homeless, I'm surviving.
Also making the headlines, Police Scotland's Chief Constable says all crimes will now be logged by biological sex rather than self-identification. Scottish Labour MSPs react to speculation Keir Starmer is facing a leadership challenge.
Do you have full confidence in the Prime Minister?
Yes, absolutely.
He's trying his best in a very difficult set of circumstances for the country.
And Dykes is dreaming ahead of a crucial double-header. The Scotland forward says playing at the World Cup would top the lot. I'm John Mackay. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. Tents set on fire, sleeping bags urinated on. That's the reality for those sleeping rough on our streets. As Scotland continues to grapple with a housing crisis, those without a place to call home say they're facing violence and abuse every day. One charity told STV News that in the past 6 months alone, 11 people they support have died on the streets of Edinburgh, and they fear that as winter approaches, more lives will be lost. Our reporter Amy Flett hears from those experiencing homelessness who wanted to tell their story.
My tents have been put on fire. I've had tents slashed. I forgot I had anything. Got everything gets destroyed.
Belle told us she's been sleeping rough on Edinburgh's Princes Street for the past 6 months. After her tent was slashed, she was left without any shelter for the night, something she says happens all too often.
We've had knives put through tents, we've had people's tents put on fire, but no one feels safe. No one does.
So this is Belle's old tent. She's sleeping in the tent over there now.
I joined Chelsea as she went out to deliver supplies to people sleeping on the streets. She doesn't work for a charity, but after witnessing the violence faced by people experiencing homelessness, she decided she wanted to help.
There's people who are being attacked in the streets. There's people who have sleeping bags that have been peed on. Some of the men are getting robbed and targeted by gangs and stuff like that as well. It's just sad.
People will walk past me and say, oh, how much? Like, people don't respect you as a person on the street.
Charlotte is just 22 years old. She says she struggles with people's perceptions of the homeless, but for her, it's simply about survival.
My whole life I grew up in care, so I never had a family. I've never had anyone who cared. So for me, it's just me against the world. I see it as I'm not homeless, I'm surviving. Most people will walk past you on the street and look down at you and say, oh, you're not homeless because you're too young or you're too clean looking. And for me, it's not all, it's stereotype again. Like, not every homeless person does drugs, not every homeless person can have a bath, not every homeless person is dirty though.
Hello, my pal, how are you? We're back.
As well as handing out supplies, Chelsea has been working with the community to offer haircuts to people sleeping rough. They offer William the chance to freshen up. He tells us he's had a rough night.
I'm drying my sleeping bag and I'm drying there. I woke up soaking wet. I'm just drying off now. I've been homeless for 3 weeks now. 3 weeks on the street, and it's been horrible. I'm trying to stop drinking, but it's kind of hard to stop drinking when you're on the streets.
Like William, many say that without support or a roof over their head, substance abuse can often feel like their only escape.
I was clean until I came on the street. It's hard, it's in your face. There's no help to get clean. Not everyone is on drugs. There's some of us that just cannot survive.
Homeless charities estimate that around 80 to 100 people in Edinburgh are currently living on the streets. But this issue isn't isolated to the capital. Recent figures show that the number of people sleeping rough across the country is still on the rise. And it's feared that as we enter the winter months, the situation will only get worse.
We've had 11 deaths in Edinburgh over the last 6 months of people that we work with at Simon Community Scotland.
And the people that we support are terrified right now. They're really scared. I mean, some people that we've spoken to don't know if they're going to survive this winter. And I mean, what we've got is a really fantastic homelessness emergency action plan. It's great, but it's not. What does that mean to somebody sleeping in a tent down the road there? Well, how does that translate into safety this winter? How does that translate into service provision? And we're working as tirelessly as we can, but it's really urgent that we get support. I mean, it's not just a council issue, it's a community issue, and we all need to come together to be the solutions.
We are taking action to address all forms of homelessness, of which rough sleeping is the most acute and the most harmful, not least in a housing emergency action plan that I set out in September that was backed by up to £5 billion. It provides a whole suite of measures, from building new affordable homes to providing wraparound support for people with multiple and complex needs who are facing homelessness, because it's our driving mission to make sure that nobody has to face that.
But for Belle, until she sees the impact of these measures, every day is filled with uncertainty about what tomorrow might bring.
We need it.
Amy Flett, STV News, Edinburgh.
The Chief Constable of Police Scotland has insisted no cases of rape carried out by men who identified as women have been recorded as female crimes. But Joe Farrell admitted the force had given out mixed messages on its policy of recording the gender of offenders. Appearing before a Holyrood committee, she said offences of all types will now be logged with biological sex rather than self-identification. Here's our senior reporter, Gordon Cree.
This was the image that brought gender ID and rape cases into the spotlight. Charged with rape as a man, Adam Graham was recorded as male on police systems, but by the time of coming to trial had self-identified as a woman called Isla Bryson. That prompted questions about whether a male identifying as a woman at the time they were accused in the first place would be recorded as female. Today, the Chief Constable told Parliament's Petitions Committee that has never happened.
If we look at our data in relation to the recording of men accused of sexual offences, rape and sexual offences, there have been 16,258 offences recorded on our crime system since 2018, and every one of those has been recorded accurately that there is a biological man who has committed or suspected of committed that offence, and that is how they've been recorded.
All of this has its roots in one of the most contentious public policy debates in years: gender self-identification. Campaigners say that while the waters have been muddied, now they're getting some clarity. In 2019, Police Scotland's position was that it recorded offenders based on self-declaration, unless the sex or gender was relevant to the investigation. In 2023, in written evidence to the Petitions Committee at Parliament, it said a rapist could be recorded as female if they were a first offender and the attending officer was satisfied they presented as female. But in autumn last year, the Chief Constable said a man who commits rape will be recorded as male. Today, she said all offenders, regardless of their crime, will be recorded in their biological sex. One of the group who brought the petition says accurate data is vital for making public policy.
I'm not sure Police Scotland could honestly say hand on heart that in these preceding years that there aren't people who have been recorded as the opposite sex across all crime types. If she has confidence on rape and sexual assault, then that's clearly good news. But what matters here is the policy, and as you say, the policy has not been, the communication policy has been poor.
Because she says all along rape and sexual assault would have been recorded by biological sex, but clearly that wasn't the perception people had.
No, and statements made by Police Scotland did not reflect that.
Today, the Chief Constable accepted there had been mixed messages. She says the force is now working at pace to implement the new recording policy across police systems. Gordon Cree, STV News, Edinburgh.
The Prime Minister insists he never authorised an attack on Cabinet colleagues. Sir Keir Starmer says late-night briefings from Downing Street claiming there is a plot to oust him are unacceptable. The Prime Minister believes the speculation around a leadership challenge shows the Labour Party is riven with internal dissent. Here's our political correspondent, Ewan Petrie.
Is the House Prime Minister.
The Prime Minister's aides believe Cabinet colleagues are looking to banish Keir Starmer from number 10. Last night, briefings from inside Downing Street tried to kill off any leadership challenge. They accused Health Secretary Wes Streeting of plotting against the Prime Minister. He spent the morning pledging his loyalty.
What we've seen from Downing Street overnight are a series of categorically untrue briefings. Whoever's behind this has been watching far too much Celebrity Traitors, and what they've said about me is probably the most unjustified attack on a faithful since Joe Marler was banished in the final.
Can be made not the leader of the opposition.
In Parliament, the Prime Minister defended him.
The Health Secretary said there is a toxic culture in Downing Street that needs to change. He's right, isn't he?
Mr. Speaker, my focus each and every day is on rebuilding and renewing our country. But let me be absolutely clear, any attack on any member of my cabinet is completely unacceptable.
Attention then turned to who might be behind the briefings.
The person responsible for the culture in number 10 is his Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney. Does the Prime Minister have full confidence in him?
Morgan McSweeney, my team and I are absolutely focused on delivering for the country. And let me be clear, of course, Mr. Speaker, I've never authorised attacks on Cabinet members. I appointed them to their posts because they're the best people to carry out their jobs.
Since Labour swept to power last year, the First Minister believes voters have been left disappointed.
What's happened overnight, I think, will disappoint people in Scotland even further, because it's quite clear the Labour Party is riven with internal dissent, and it therefore can't focus on sorting out the major challenges that the Labour government was elected to solve.
This was a high-risk strategy designed to shore up support for the Prime Minister, with less than 6 months until the Scottish election. Ewan Petrie, STV News.
Well, as Ewan said, the row comes just months before the Scottish Parliament election next May. Our political editor Colin Mackay has been seeking reaction from Labour MSPs to the turmoil. Colin, what have they been saying?
They're not impressed. This was supposed to help the Prime Minister. It was supposed to head off any potential post-budget leadership challenge, but it has spectacularly backfired. One Labour person described it to me today as a stupid thing done by stupid people, because all it does is highlight the concerns that arise about Sir Keir Starmer's leadership among his own MPs. And going into a Holyrood election just in the next few months, that's the last thing that Labour MSPs want. Do you have full confidence in the Prime Minister?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you think that the party is as united as he claimed at Prime Minister's questions?
I think the party's united. We want to take on the forces of reform and win the Scottish elections next year.
I think as someone I backed as Prime Minister, as someone I've supported. So
you still back him?
Yeah, I think he's he's trying his best in a very difficult set of circumstances for the country. The problem is there's no easy way out of the challenges the country's got right now.
What do you make of the turmoil in the Labour leadership at the moment? Pauline, what do you make of the turmoil in the Labour leadership?
I've not really caught up with anything.
Do you think Keir Starmer's the right person to keep leading the party?
Yes.
Do you have full confidence in the Prime Minister?
Yes.
Do you think he's the right person to lead the Labour Party into the Scottish election next year?
Well, Nassauer will be leading the Labour Party to the Scottish election
next year. Or do you think
he
should be Prime Minister during that? Or do you think he damages your party?
Well, I think it's quite likely he will be Prime Minister during that.
Do you hope he will be?
I think he will be the Prime Minister during that.
Do you hope he will be?
Well, I hope the best person to be Prime Minister is the Prime Minister.
Even if that's not Keir Starmer then?
Well, at the moment that's Keir Starmer, isn't it? So.
Now, just a few weeks ago at Labour's conference, the leadership killed off a possible challenge by Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham. And this just raises the whole prospect again and puts new names in the frame. Now here, there was loyalty to the Prime Minister from Labour MSPs today, but they're angry they're even having to deal with this.
Colin, at the Scottish Parliament, thank you. Scottish courts may have to change how evidence is considered in sex offence trials after a Supreme Court ruling. The UK's highest court dismissed an appeal by 2 men convicted of rape. However, it found the Scottish courts should modify their current approach to the admission of evidence in trials for sexual offences. That could mean judges being given more discretion to allow questioning of complainers about their behaviour and sexual history if it's considered relevant. A union has warned it's not sustainable for teachers to continue tackling their workload in their own time. The EIS union wants members to vote for both strike action and action short of strikes in a statutory ballot. A Scottish Government spokesperson says they're committed to finding an approach to reduce contact time.
Such are the conditions that they're working in at the moment, with not enough of them to do the vast amounts of work that are required to be done. That means that teachers can't do all that they wish to do, and that is impacting their morale, it's impacting their health, it is stressing so many of them out, not only when they're at their work, but when they are at home.
Transport operators have been laying out their plans to deal with bad weather over the winter months. Resilience planning for the rail, road and ferry networks is underway, with key machinery in place to deal with worsening weather. The Scottish Government says investing in the infrastructure so the transport network can operate in difficult conditions is a priority.
I'm very keen that we plan and we invest in maintenance. We need that to build the resilience in our rail and road network, and also as part of our rail investment we invest in Network Rail to buy the equipment that you see today to make sure that they can keep the railways open.
The two most recent storms that we've had, Storm Amy and Storm Floris, we managed to get 100% of the network back within 48 hours, which I think is an accomplishment. Of course, we want to get better and we want to improve things, and we want to minimise the volume of the railway that we have to shut. Of course, safety has to come first, but I think that we're in a particularly good place.
A carer has been found guilty of a hit and run which left 8 teenage boys in hospital in Glasgow. Stephen Gilmer crashed into the youths, who were all aged between 12 and 17, in the Provan Mill area of the city 3 years ago. The 37-year-old ran from the scene but was dragged out of a nearby shop. At the city's Sheriff Court, he was found guilty of causing injury by careless driving. Sentencing was deferred until next month. Police are investigating after a woman was raped in a lane in Glasgow city centre. Emergency services were called to Suchy Hall Lane at around 3 a.m. following reports of a serious sexual assault. The lane has been cordoned off and police say inquiries are ongoing. The Royal Hospital for Children is urging parents to think carefully before taking their children to A&E. Staff at the Children's Hospital say the service has seen an increase in the number of young people being admitted with respiratory conditions. Parents are being urged to consider using the NHS 24 app. They're also being asked to use community services, including a GP or pharmacy, to help treat any illnesses. And phone 111 if it's urgent. 999 should only be used in an emergency. A project in Glasgow's East End is trying to prove that affordable childcare is one of Scotland's most powerful tools for tackling child poverty. The Carlton demonstration of change is testing new community-based ways to help families move out of poverty. Our reporter Vidushi Tiwari went along to one session.
What started as 2 after-school sessions a week is now a lifeline for parents who wouldn't otherwise have the time to improve their economic situation. Slowly but surely, it's pulling families away from the breadline.
It's got really good climbing facilities and lots of arts and crafts.
I like the arts and crafts.
They also have very good food.
Yeah, they've got, the burgers are really nice, and so are the hot dogs, and there is really nice staff.
Almost a quarter of children across Scotland are currently living in poverty. Baltic Street Adventure Playground is just one of the programmes in Glasgow making a difference.
Been able to support the families with education, employment, volunteering opportunities. We've got families who have maybe started their own business, things like that. The need's definitely there. It's not only that. Some of the families that came originally just used the space to maybe clear their feet, a wee bit of respite, and then we try and look at what skills and what kind of opportunities are there.
Here, kids have access to after-school fun and a hot meal, while their parents take on better jobs and further their education.
Over the years, we've realised that despite all the work that the council's been doing around poverty and families in poverty in Glasgow, we're not really moving the dial much, and so we felt we had to do something different, and this was about testing models to see what works in different parts of the city.
We're working with families that are actually going through this real life lived experience. You know, if we just deal with one part of that solution and provide the childcare space but don't meet the families where they're at, then sometimes a solution can be in vain, and this is about maximising on the offer of childcare and combining it with a wider range of services.
There's already a waiting list for the playgrounds after school sessions, but they're getting £800,000 more in funding to keep expanding for an impact that's far beyond just childcare. Vidushi Davari, STV News.
Now here's Ronnie with tonight's sport.
STV Sport, sponsored by the C.R. Smith Black Friday sale.
Yes, a very good evening. Lyndon Dykes says he's put the heartbreak of missing last year's Euros behind him and is ready to help Scotland book a place at the World Cup finals. As the Scots prepare for the games against Greece and Denmark, the striker says playing in next summer's tournament in North America would be the highlight of his life. Here's Stephanie Daly.
Lyndon Dykes suffered every footballer's worst nightmare when the chance to represent Scotland at a major tournament was snatched away when he was stretchered off the training pitch just 2 weeks before last year's Euros in Germany. Having helped the Scots qualify for their second consecutive Euros, scoring in a 2-1 win away to Norway, the Birmingham City forward was forced to watch the finals from the sidelines. Now, ahead of back-to-back games against Greece and Denmark, the 30-year-old is ready to put the hurt behind him by bagging a place at the World Cup finals in North America next summer.
Obviously, now looking back on it, it's difficult, but I'm past that now. At the time, it was very difficult for myself. I found it very hard, obviously not helping out, playing in the Euros, which is major, but now I'm just looking forward, and the next thing's the World Cup, and we've got 2 major games, and we want to be getting, automatic straight to the World Cup, and that's the end goal for myself, and I'm sure for the whole team as well. So we've got an opportunity to do it. It's not going to be easy. We have to make sure we turn up for both games, and yeah, it will definitely be a highlight of my life and my career if we can do it.
France '98 was the last time Scotland made it to a World Cup. 27 years on, Dykes believes Steve Clarke's side deserve to make it to another.
Playing a World Cup, obviously, for personally, I never even thought I'd have the opportunity to do that. So it's such an amazing thing. I think what we've been through for the last number of years, we had the burden of the Euros, and we done that as a team. We got back-to-back Euros, and now the next thing is the World Cup, and everyone wants that, all the players, all the staff and the whole nation. And I just think in general, we deserve it as a team for what we've shown over the past number of years. I mean, in general, I think anyone wants to play in a World Cup because it's just a pinnacle of your career.
If the Scots can avoid defeat in Athens on Saturday, it will set up a winner-takes-all clash with the Danes at Hampden next Tuesday. Stephanie Daly, STV Sport.
Well, staying with Scotland, and women's head coach Melissa Andreatta admits they can take inspiration from the men's team's World Cup hopes, insisting the Tartan Army must fully back both sides in their quest for qualification. The Australian named her side today for the upcoming friendlies against China and Ukraine at the end of the month, as they get set for their own World Cup qualifiers that start next year.
The passion of Scotland and for its football is the key thing that stands out to me here, and what I want to say and what I think we need to focus on, that while we're 2 teams, we're still one nation, and everyone needs to get behind both teams because we're still Scotland. Doesn't matter if it's a Caroline Weir wearing the tartan blue, or it's McTominay.
Hibs owners, the Gordon family, say they remain fully committed to the club after buying out American billionaire Bill Foley's £6 million stake at Easter Road. Foley and his Black Knight Football Group bought 25% of shares in Hibs last February, but both sides have agreed what they call an amicable end to the partnership after philosophical differences in their visions for the club. Finally to rugby, and Scotland assistant Peter de Villiers is confident the squad have what it takes to start beating the best teams in the world after a narrow defeat to the All Blacks on Saturday. Gregor Townsend's men welcome Argentina to Murrayfield this weekend with a boost in terms of fitness. Finn Russell and Xander Fagerson both back in full training.
I'm very confident that this group can still grow. We've consistently been growing, and I think there's still growth in the boys in terms of just where they want to be, and the belief that they've got in themselves and the belief that we've got in them. So yes, I think we will go there. These things, I think, do take time. When you start knocking on door for the top 5 or play the top 5 teams.
STV Sport, sponsored by the C.R. Smith Black Friday sale.
Much more Scotland to come this week, John. The big question, are we making it?
Aye.
See, it's happening, folks. Come on, Scotland. Ratman's back tomorrow. Cheers.
Rory, thank you. Now back to reality. Philip, how's the weather?
An icy start to the day will give way to a series of oohs and ahs. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Hello and a very good evening to you. As we head throughout the second half of the week, we have low pressure dominating our weather across parts of England and Wales. High pressure building in across Scotland, and that's doing a couple of things. It's putting us into a cold northerly airflow, dragging in that Arctic air, so we will see our temperatures dropping a few degrees, but it's also acting as a bit of a buffer, stopping all of the bad weather from moving up from the south. Back to just now as we head into the overnight period, still some scattered showers around that have fed in from the north. We have a frontal system pushing in from the south, so as those merge we will see some longer spells of rain throughout the course of the second half of the night. Temperatures dropping to lows of around 4 or 5 degrees Celsius. So for Thursday morning, a cloudy, chilly and damp start to the day for many of us. As we head throughout the course of the afternoon, those showers that have merged together into longer spells of rain will start to retreat a little further southwards. We do start to see some drier and brighter spells later on in the day, but our temperatures are down a fair few degrees, highs of 7 or 8 degrees Celsius. Looking ahead to Friday now, like I said, we've got high pressure building in, so overall a fairly pleasant and reasonable day to come. Lengthy spells of sunshine, a largely dry day to come. Any showers that we do see are confined to northern coastal parts, but it is feeling chilly with highs of 8 or 9. Bye-bye.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Don't forget Scotland Tonight with Rona at 10:40. From all of us here, though, thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your evening.